Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Clever Live. And I hope you can hear me this time. I see there's a ton of people in the chat. Welcome. Of course, smash that like button, share this with all your friends and families across every platform because we have a super exciting episode today. That's great. Thank you for confirming the sound now. Um, it's an exciting market that we're facing today. There's so much happening. Yes, price is one thing, but value is another. Putin and Russia are hinting that they will regulate crypto and commence Bitcoin and crypto mining. More and more politicians, both in the United States and around the world, are hinting and showing that they are not only promoting Bitcoin and crypto, but they are accepting and embracing Bitcoin as a campaign contribution, as a tool of individual empowerment. While in the British Parliament, they're speaking openly about the great need of regulating crypto in the right way in order not to stifle innovation. We live in super exciting times, and we've been waiting for this for years, at least the ones who've been here for a few years. And the ones who have not, it's an amazing time to enter the market and start understanding Bitcoin, crypto, and of course, the Klever ecosystem. Today, we have a really top guests. And it also includes a co-host from our own Klever team. Over the past 15 years, Warren Manuel has held digital marketing management positions at prominent publishers, financial institutions, digital agencies, retail and travel companies. He uses his deep digital marketing skills to expand the Klever brand's reach, generate leads, improve conversions, and of course, grow our users exponentially. Today, he works as Klever's social media and community manager and has become an essential part of our team's growth. Welcome, Warren, everyone. Think it
Thanks,
might.
Misha. No, that's me. Thanks so much. Slightly nervous, but thanks for the great introduction. Great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, you have become in such a crucial part of our team, and we appreciate everything you do, night and day, all days of the week. Guys, you have no idea what's coming to you, and Warren is definitely part of leading that charge. And today, let's move on forward, of course, to talk about social metrics and what our friends and partners at LunarCrush are doing. A super exciting site that I personally use almost on a daily basis to understand the market, price movement, social metrics, essentially the social volume, social dominance. Of course, they have these amazing, intricate alt ranks and galaxy scores. They will explain it all. They're our friends, and it's a pleasure to introduce the co-founders of LunarCrush, John and Joe. Welcome to Clever Live.
What's up, you guys?
Thanks for having us.
What a
Are our
pleasure.
mics on?
Your
Yes.
mic was on. You
Yes.
didn't make that mistake that I did. Nice to see you guys.
Well, Warren, I didn't know this is your first live. I almost want to welcome you.
L'chaim to that one.
I think I'm the newbie in this space. I mean, from what I've seen, you guys have done probably like 10,000 of these already. It's second nature right now.
Yeah, we've done a lot. I mean, John's even got like nice like bull and bear emojis behind him. It's about which I'm surprised it doesn't have a glare because it's 6 a.m. here on the West Coast in the U.S. It's a little early for us, but appreciate you guys having us.
It's pretty incredible that you guys come up this early every time that we do something with you guys, whether it's a Twitter Spaces or a live with you that we did with was Marlon, Bruno, and I came over a few months ago. It's always super early for you, and I'm always so appreciative. But you guys are working around the clock.
Of course, man.
Hey, it feels great getting up this early. Honestly, I kind of like it.
Well, my day changed definitely when I received my daughter about roughly soon to be 2 years ago. So it usually starts around 4 or 5 nowadays. It's a pleasure. That's for sure. But you get productive, and that's a beautiful thing. So guys, before we jump into what crazy things you guys are doing at LunarCrush, I really want to hear a little bit more about John and Joe. Where do you come from? What's your origin story? How did you enter the space? And how did you come up with the crazy idea that you can combine market data with social metrics in order to create LunarCrush?
Go ahead, John. You start us.
I'll start with, I guess, my history. My crypto trading started back when I started trading baseball cards in the 80s. And I remember also at the same time my dad would bring home the Wall Street Journal, and I'd wonder why the Sunday edition was so fat. Like, what is this business section? What are all these numbers? And I just started becoming kind of mesmerized with stocks and understanding, like, what is going on here? How does this work? So early age was kind of, trying to grasp what's going on with markets. And the baseball card thing is really interesting because I look today at like the NFT market. The mechanics are so identical, except you can actually sell an NFT versus you can't sell baseball cards very easily. I ended up trading stocks a lot all the way through college, and then found Bitcoin back in 2013, and had a Mt. Gox account and all that fun stuff. And really was just blown away, and immediately I saw where this could go. I can't believe where it's at today. It just blows my mind. But really just, aside from like the investing half of my life, the other half of my life, has been in marketing, advertising, product management, user experience, and design. I really got into, like, I probably built like 1,000 websites at this point. I got into like building websites back in like 1999, and worked at many different agencies and worked for many different clients, and met Joe. Actually, we were working at a very large automotive brand, running digital for them pretty much, and building these huge scale apps. And it's
When did you
funny to
meet?
now.
Like,
When was
what
it?
timeline are we talking about?
When did
That
we
was
meet?
2015.
Was it 2015? Yeah. We had a
2015.
mutual friend that said, you guys need to meet, because he thought we were similar, and we just grabbed a coffee, and that was that. So it's been a great journey since, and it's pretty fun to be here today.
Amazing.
Yeah, we should
Thanks, man.
probably reach out to him at some point, and we owe him a favor or two.
I would agree. Yeah.
Just send him a few sats.
Yeah.
I hope he's been stacking ever since he's probably been following along on Twitter and LinkedIn and seeing what we're doing. Good. That was great. I mean, my story is a little different, but similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, I came out of school in 2008, when the market was, I would say, similar but different. It's like 2008 with the the mortgage crisis here in the U.S., and it seemed similar like to what was happening like with COVID, but in I don't know, there's a much different way. I mean, it's like that felt like an actual like fundamental crisis that was going down, and it had this kind of like cascading effect on the market. And I was coming out of school. I was like, I'm going to go work I was a finance degree. I'm going to go work for Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns, or go do investment banking in New York City. And, those companies don't even exist anymore. And they were 100-year-old institutions.
But
And
Bitcoin does.
Yeah, Bitcoin does. And that's kind of, I think probably where some of this started, specifically with Bitcoin. And it's just my theory, but, seeing some of that stuff, and we all know what was written into the Genesis block of the first, block of Bitcoin, and it's kind of a feature of that. And so I had the same feeling coming out of school, like I kind of got screwed, and I wanted to go work at these awesome places, and I couldn't get a job there because they were gone. And now I had to kind of find my way. But I'm actually so glad that I did, just because I had an opportunity to learn so many different types of business, where I think if you go into finance right off the bat, you do have a harder time kind of winding out of that, because the money is good, and there's a very strict way that you go, and when you have to kind of find your way through other things, you're making a lot less money, you're trying new things. And for me, it was always about staying curious. I actually feel bad for some of the kids today coming out of school, and like, you can't just go and like knock on your boss's door and like walk in there and like ask questions and figure out what's going on and network and do those things that we could do when we were younger. And just, it was very easy for people to see, oh, this person's hungry. There's just different ways, but I see the kids adapting now. But yeah, no, I actually found marketing and advertising, right around that time, and was working at an agency when I didn't even know what they did. I was like, I don't even know what's going on here. Like, what do you guys even do? I saw a financial analyst position. And it was like, they had like an account. They had like a big, like, beer account. And then they had like the Backstreet Boys playing like at the office. I was like, what the hell is this? What is going on here?
They're
But I
enjoying
learned,
themselves.
yeah, I learned about the creative process, and it was amazing. And went down that rabbit hole, and did a couple other things. Had a startup a couple years back, but I found Bitcoin because of John in 2015. He was like, "Hey, do you know what this Bitcoin thing is?" And I was like, I don't. And I actually, I remember like even where I like sat in the office, like when we started kind of looking and going down that rabbit hole, and just saw the intersection of finance and technology, and um, saw all like the kind of traditional personas of people that I used to like game with and everything back in the day. And I was like, okay, these are the people that are going to build the next generation of everything. And for me, it's always being a part of that and jumping headfirst in without any questions whatsoever that's the direction I'm going. And so that's where it kind of started and ended. And then we were looking at the market and saying, like, how do you really understand what's happening? 2017, Ethereum came out, all these tokens. It was like, there's no fundamental analysis.
Confusing.
Yeah, you can't figure it out. And so what about all these influencers? Like, how do you know that person actually knows what the heck they're talking about? And have they been talking about that over the last 6 months, last year? Have they just started talking about this last 2 hours? What other projects have they been talking about? And so we wanted to make sense of that for ourselves, I think, and started ideating and seeing if we can get some of the data and organize it. It's probably more of a design problem than it is even a data problem and a branding problem. And that's where we're at, and that's LunarCrush. We're a social intelligence platform for cryptocurrencies.
It's amazing. Super inspiring story. And I wanted to come and touch upon that, like what you guys are, and as you say, social intelligence platform for cryptocurrencies. That is a big sentence.
That's a lot.
It's a lot encompassing
Yeah.
in that tagline, essentially. But talk more about some of the metrics that you track around crypto, such as alt rank, galaxy score, social dominance, social volume, sentiment. Why does it matter, and how do you guys track it?
I'd love to know how you came up with those as well, because I mean, those are huge. Every single
yeah. So I think it's interesting because different individuals have different perspective about what tracking social media actually is, and I think some people think of it as just sentiment. Is it bullish? Is it bullish or is it bearish? Is it something that tells me I should buy right now, or do I sell right now? And I think that's the absolute wrong way to look at it. What you have to understand is, like, it's one thing if we say, okay, cool, we're going to track. Let's use Klever as an example. It's one thing to say we're just going to track anytime someone uses the ticker KLV, or they mention Klever in any regard, and that's kind of one dimension. And I think the important thing to look at is, like, what do these dimensions look like? And as you look at these different dimensions, how do you paint a picture of what's actually happening? And so, if we said we're tracking everything related to Klever, let's go deeper than that. Anytime that there's a post that talks about Klever, because so far we just have the volume of mentions every day. And so if you go deeper than that, in those posts, is there a lot going on? Are there a lot of comments? Are there retweets? Are there likes? If we're talking about Reddit, is there a lot of comments? Is there a lot of upvotes? If we're talking about YouTube, is there a lot of engagement on those posts? And so engagement is really, really important, because it tells you that it's not just like, it's really easy. You see bots out there, and you see spam accounts out there. You see burner Twitter accounts and all this. You see people kind of posting endlessly, some projects every second. And so to kind of take that and say, okay, well, let's weed through all that. Let's see the things that actually have the community talking. That's engagement, and that's really important. And at scale, that's really hard to game. And so that's just yet another dimension. If you look deeper than that, is it one person posting a lot, or is it 10,000 people posting a lot? And so that's a critical thing to look at, because if you look at really over time, it's one thing that, we see this all the time. We see projects hiring influencers, and they're paid all sorts of different ways, probably in their token, sometimes it's cash, all sorts of different things. And you see this kind of spike, and then it goes away, and then it dies again. Oh, and then they hired another influencer, and it spikes and it goes away and it dies again. What you really want to look at is consistent long-term growth of a community. And it just so happens, when you start to look at all of these dimensions together, and you start to see that, wow, okay, this project, it's not telling me that I need to day trade this thing every 5 minutes. It's telling me that over time, it helps me understand what's going on, and really create conviction, so that I can understand a little bit more about what's going on. And I'd say also, it even tells you more, because if you kind of look at the behavior of what someone's doing in crypto, they're on Twitter all day, they're on these social channels all day. Well, it would be nice to, like, maybe surround yourself with some of the people that are also talking about the project, that are influential. So which of all of these people that are talking about a project really get a lot of engagement on their posts, have a relatively strong following, and really have frequent activity. Not that they post once about Klever, but they're posting 2 to 3 times every day, and getting a lot of engagement and getting a lot of following. And there's even a lot more we're going to do with this. Super excited about where this is going. But, like, if you just look at that in general, there's so many different dimensions to it. And I'd say, like, when you look at some of our more proprietary metrics, like Galaxy Score, Galaxy Score is looking at the health of a specific project over time. And it's looking at market data, and it's looking at social data. And so it's saying, right now, does this project look healthy relative to its historic performance from all of these perspectives? And then we've got AltRank, which is kind of looking at that, at Galaxy Score, but it's looking at a coin relative to the entire market. And it's also looking at its market performance relative to Bitcoin. Because if you're in an altcoin and you're not beating Bitcoin, you might as well be in Bitcoin. And so we kind of use that as like a kind of like a balance to a degree.
So I found that very fascinating, the alt rank. We were number one a little while back. We've been up there a few times, also on the Galaxy Score, of course. But the alt rank one, it was a market downturn, I think, from 65 to 50-ish. And that downturn, Klever was like number one for repeated times. And I want to understand, like, that alt rank, even in a downturn kind of bear market, sentiment, Klever was on top. What does that mean, really, compared to that Galaxy Score?
It's relative at that moment. So it changes every hour, but at that moment, it's relative to the entire market.
The entire market.
The entire market. So if at that moment any coin is number one, Klever included, it means that you're outperforming from a social perspective at that moment in time, and a market perspective, and you're beating Bitcoin. And so if you look at that all together, what's really cool about it is everyone loves to be bullish, and no one wants to talk. Like, lately the market's just tough. It's tough on everyone, right? If you look at it,
everybody's a
right.
bit messed up right now, and it's fine.
Yes.
It's okay to say we're all a bit messed up. It's going to be fine.
If you look at it, like, how do you win? You protect yourself from the downside as well. And so when we look at AltRank, one of the most fascinating things when the market is just falling or tanking, we end up seeing that, like, stable coins rank really well. And that's not because they're pegged at $1 and everything is falling. That's only part of the picture. They wouldn't rank high if that was the only factor. And so what we see is, when the market falls, we see not only that people are talking about stable coins a lot, and we see that they're outperforming from a market perspective, but we also see patterns that when a certain amount of them end up with really strong alt ranks, it ends up being a really strong signal, because the only next step from there is to literally exit the market completely. If you're in stable coins and the everyone's talking about it and it's outperforming, where are you going after? There's nowhere to go after. You're gone. And so, we see that being a really strong signal. And I would say lately we've been seeing it a lot. And so we're paying very close attention to that. But it's a really interesting thing to look at, especially when the market's bearish and we want to never look at our portfolios. We want to just ignore it all, until it goes up again. And it's funny because on that same note, we see social volume have that exact pattern. So people don't talk when it's bearish out there, and they do when it's bullish.
Fascinating.
And if you take,
Or do you want to go with the next one?
Yeah, if you take all those aggregated data bits of points that you have, and all the social metrics, I mean, that must be one crazy AI that you've got at the back there. How long did that take you to develop, and kind of what does that look like? Because that's a lot of insights that you're grabbing.
It's never done. I would say we implemented things. We trained a whole library on terms, crypto specific terms. We really looked at the kind of the anatomy of what a post looks like, trying to understand what spam looks like, trying to understand bullish and bearish terms, and started training. And we built a whole bunch of different things into our back end to understand and train and really make sense of it all, because every single post that comes in from every social channel gets analyzed and scored. And if you think about that is, I don't know, we've probably done about 500 million posts so far. So every single post is scored and understood for sentiment and spam. And so it's never done. You have to kind of look at like machine learning as like it's sort of a percentage and of accuracy, and over time you tweak and improve, you tweak and you improve, and the more data the better. And so on that note, some of the things we're doing, like we launched LunarCrush opinions a little bit ago. We announced last night that we've had 200 million, I think we're at 216 million opinions since the beginning of December. And so a lot of that can also help train our accuracy and get sentiment even stronger. It's kind of like a tremendous moat around LunarCrush if you think about it. We're the only ones with that sentiment data that can be combined with our opinion data, that can be combined with many other things we're going to do. And so it's a pretty big data science challenge to get right. And there's so many dimensions to this where, we could be doing like image recognition to understand, coin icons in an image, transcription on videos. This is a never ending thing. Very similar to like how a Tesla used to not be very accurate at self-driving, and it got better, and then it gets better and better, but it's reliant on that data and really understanding like cross sections of many different types of data. And so we're laser focused on it. And it's interesting because it's one of those things that even if we had perfect accuracy today, from a feature perspective, it would look like the same site. You wouldn't know any difference. It's just that it would be more accurate. And so, it's an interesting thing. It's not like, again, on the Tesla reference, it just sort of works. There's less buttons on a Tesla than other cars, and it just kind of works. And that's kind of what it's going to feel like, is like, it's going to be the same LunarCrush, except like no one's going to have this data because they just don't have it. And so it's an interesting thing when you look at it all together. And it's even more interesting when you layer in tokenomics and an incentivization model on top of it all, because it creates even more data.
And that's what we come to next. Incentivizing users to interact, to deepen themselves on your platform, use more of your features. And you introduced Lunar, the token, originally on Zilliqa, now also on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. And something happened today on Klever, inside of the Klever ecosystem, that the Lunar token, of course, went live on both Binance Smart Chain and the Ethereum ERC20 variant of the token. So you can all go to your token filters and see, of course, LUNR, and find the LunarCrush token. And what can you do with this token besides holding, storing, sending, charging, and receiving it in the Klever ecosystem? John and Joe, What's the token for?
It's a nice graphic, by the way, there.
Yeah.
I do want to just like, I'll answer this, and I want to go back to the Galaxy Score and alt rank after that, because I want to clarify something.
Sure.
But so Lunar token was launched about 90 days ago. It's a utility token that's used in the LunarCrush universe right now. And what you can do with Lunar token is, as you come on to LunarCrush and you're doing all the things that you're already doing, research and analysis, you're providing opinions, bullish and bearish on whatever coin detail page that we have, influencers, you're on there. You're just visiting the site and you're earning points. And at the end of every single day, what we do is we tally up everyone against each other and say, how much kind of proof of community did you have today on lunarcrush.com or on the app, iOS and Android? And they split a pool of Lunar. And we do that into perpetuity. And the reason we did that is, we've been around for a long time. I know a lot of people are just kind of finding us, and then they'll go back and see that we've also done 100 live streams and talk to everyone in the industry. But the world is changing, and there's a reason that Facebook rebrands themselves to Meta. Whether or not you think it was 25 years early or not, is because they're seeing the end of these models, these SaaS models, paid ad models, and they're realizing, look at Brave browser, right? Look at how many people are adopting that. Look at how many people are adopting like GoDuckGo or DuckGo Duck. I'm not sure which one it is, but you're seeing that people are moving away from these models, and I would say it is an incentive system, but I would say it's an incentive system was not the purpose of it. The purpose of it was to democratize opportunity for people that want to participate in a new market and a new place of interacting where they are the owners of their data, right? Like, we always go back to, I think it was when they were called Blockstack, but now it's Stacks. And it's, Google always had this billboard in Silicon Valley that said, don't be evil, right? And Blockstack and now Stacks had it scratched out and it said, can't be evil, right? With blockchain, right? Because it's transparent and we know, and you are the owner of your data. And so we wanted to take that and overlay it on our community, and say, hey, this is a way for our community to participate and earn and be a part of something bigger than themselves. And, we didn't want to go and charge $199 a month, for our service, and basically cut out 99.9% of the world to not have access to this data. Because what we really did is, all the hedge funds and all these large institutions, they've already had access to kind of data like ours in a different way, but they've kind of had access to social sentiment. They can build AI engines. They have the money to do that. What we did is take that and make it available to now millions of people and over 2 billion page views a month of people that come to our site. And Lunar Token was the way to deliver that and make sure that everyone that is a part of our ecosystem has has a way to participate that feels like they're part of the community versus that just flowing back to us. And that's the way that the world is changing and working now. And if you're not adopting that as an operation anywhere in the world, you're going to be left behind. And so for us, we started very early on this, and it's crazy to think that we're only 100 days into it. We have almost 50,000 token holders. We've got over 1 million token holders in the queue. So what happens is, as people are earning Lunar token, they're not actually a holder until they get to that level 2, which is 35 Lunar. And so we have like millions of people that are earning right now. And over the next year, those people will earn their way and become Lunar token holders. And so for us, we think that's an amazing accomplishment. We grew LunarCrush and it was all organic. We've never paid for anything. You guys have been on our live streams. We don't make people pay for that. We don't do anything like that. We've done everything organically. And so the fact now that we're a top 2,000 site in the world, by internet traffic, and we've done this all organically with a small nimble team, is we're pretty excited about that and where the world is going. And, I don't think John can have one more thing in this roadmap in his head before his head would explode, but we are hiring. So if you're product managers or developers, come shoot us some DMs, because we got a whole lot of stuff that we're building that we're excited about.
I want to add one thing, because you glanced over that we have 2 million users. So 100 days ago, we had 175,000 users, and today we have 2.63 million users. And so to make that point, why it's important is it's not a brag. It's not a like, look at us, we have so many users. It's a, when you launch any single thing at scale, it is a huge, huge deal versus launching something that's a tiny app with 30 users and, you know, or on a blockchain that has literally like 100 transactions a day, or like to do this at scale is everything. I mean, we have higher traffic than NBC.com or MSNBC.com. We have higher traffic than major media sites. Like if you look at, you know, if we forget to optimize an image, the cost that hits, or to implement a CAPTCHA at scale. I mean, we've had to, like, on that same note of so much traffic, we've literally had to turn Google Analytics off. We had Intercom for support. We've had to turn it off because the cost would be exponentially higher than anything that made sense. And not just that, our KPIs are different than what traditional metrics would be. You know, when we look at like trying to understand, well, how many users are in this level and this level and this level? How many people are earning each day? How many opinions came in? How many users signed up? Like when you look at all of it together, more from like a Web3 perspective instead of a Web2 perspective, like the tools out there aren't even proper. They require so much customization and they only work at small scale. And so, you know, unless, you know, and what I mean is like literally, like we could be spending $100,000 a month on analytics if we were just plugged something in, versus again a small site that's just, oh yeah, just sign something up and we'll use the free version. And we're like way past that, and we've done all of that in 100 days. And so, you know, I think it's been, scaling is a really interesting thing, but mega scaling to what you're trying to get to in 5 years and doing it in 100 days is a whole nother ballgame. And that's what we've been dealing with. And I just want to add, we crossed 50,000 holders just about an hour ago. So
That's amazing.
Another fun one.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm one of those level 2 guys right now, just for FYI sake. And nice. It's fantastic. The system works seamless, and of course the UX is amazing. I wanted to just kind of, obviously level 2 wise, that means I've got my tokens on the side. Don't forget to go check out Lunar and the Klever wallet. It's very important that you do. And then obviously get those buttons ticked so that you can always have them available in your wallet. I just wanted to also check in, just again, kind of go back to things like influencers. I mean, that's a massive thing to kind of get all the data, understand what's happening in those spaces, and obviously to break that down into a way that it's digestible for everybody. So how did you guys go about doing the influencer side, and how big a role does that play in your current metrics and your site? Are people using it at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, we have a ton of influencers that are actually coming to us and asking, why aren't I an influencer, right? And why aren't I on here? And so we know people use it. You know, we came out with this tool. I think one of the reasons, I'll start with that, was, you know, we saw some folks out there, and they'll create these kind of really long research reports about like who are the influencers of 2020, right? And we're like crypto, I mean, think about how many like bull and bear markets you can have in like a 12-month period. Like I know influencers that were influential at the beginning of a year, and then by the end of the year, they're like, you know, working at, you know, McDonald's. That'll be the term. You know, obviously maybe they're working at a bank. I don't know, but we're talking about McDonald's and crypto right now.
I'd rather work at McDonald's.
Agreed.
So
agreed.
we saw these research reports, and we were like, well, that's a point in time, and that is the end of it. And so it's like, how do we know that? Sure, that person has a nice track record over the last year, but with crypto, it's kind of like, what have you done for me lately, and what are you doing the next day? And if you just suddenly stop posting content and you've exited the market on that, you are instantly not influential whatsoever. You're only as influential as your last post, and so as your next post, I should say. And so we wanted to look at those folks in real time, and understand across all of the different projects what they were posting about, what their frequency was, you know, how many followers were actually engaging versus how many followers they had. So what was kind of like the ratio there? And, you know, just for our own edification is like, who do we follow? And so, by pulling in those influencers, it gave a nice picture and landscape for other people and ourselves to go and say, okay, do I want to follow, like a great influencer, I would say, is like someone like a Scott Melker or Wolf of Wall Street. It's like he's constantly doing analysis across tons of different projects and tokens. And, I think his account's huge now. So I think he's not grinding as much, but he's got great takes on what he is talking about. And so I would say that's why we went and built that. And, I know we've got a lot that we're building on top of that. We're even thinking about adding influencers for other social networks as well. And so it's a big piece of what we do, is trying to help people not just understand the projects, but the people that are out there, because the social media platforms have such an influential following. And it's now like, when you think about CNBC or some of these large, media organizations, all they're doing when they are talking about something that happened, there's some sort of event that happened with some company somewhere, and they bring on a subject matter expert, or they just post a tweet from like Elon Musk. It's like, that tweet's already happened. It's been retweeted 15,000 times. Like, you're late. Like, it doesn't matter what you say at this point. And so for us, it was, hey, what did all of the subject matter experts or people that you follow, what was their kind of feedback on a take that was out there that, if you can imagine, CNBC would put up there? It's already happened in real time. And so as news starts to happen at a higher frequency and take rate, we wanted to be the people there to help facilitate that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Loving what you're doing, how you're structuring the entire organization, how you're thinking about scalability. I mean, clearly we've moved quite a lot over the last few years. From 2020, we had roughly 100,000 users. Today, being over 3.5 million. It's scalability that you think of in all aspects of the entire organization, not just the team and the developers and the squad leaders, but also in terms of DevSecOps and the actual infrastructure that goes into the security architecture of all that happens inside of the Klever ecosystem. So it's definitely a hands-on approach. It's something that scalability doesn't just happen. It's planned. It's very organized, and you have to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead in order to scale those products. One of the coolest things that we use is it's different because we have active users inside the wallet using actual transactions. It's a little bit different in terms of usage, but we use Kubernetes, which is essentially a Google tool that scales organically. So the more users we have active, the more servers and microservices are activated to perform all of the activities needed. And during lower hours, essentially, or say that it's in Asia hours, and it might be lower count in terms of users, the servers kind of calm down, and that's a fascinating way to do things. But how you scaled it so quickly to become such a high-ranking site is really impressive. One thing that I thought about is this: when we talk about sentiment, we're humans. We have a lot of emotions. So how do you guys go about stripping out emotionally charged data insights, and how do you kind of separate that from a little bit more metric-oriented data?
You want to talk about that, John?
To start, congratulations. I remember we were talking to your team about a year ago, and I think I remember there were so many amazing things coming, and it's been great to watch you guys execute. So congratulations to the Klever team. It's really exciting to see it all come together, your organization scale. So it's great. So on the sentiment side, it's sort of it's kind of like I know Joe was giving the CNBC example. You know how they invite an expert up, and that one expert says exactly what's going to happen in the market, right? And they're always wrong. It's the same thing, and it's the same thing with what just happened in the crypto market. How many people in mid or early November were saying Bitcoin's going straight to 100,000? I remember seeing $300,000 predictions by the end of the year. And what happened? And I would say, how many of those people were right? And so like a handful of people were right, and out of millions. And so I think when you kind of start there and realize that like people are sort of individually wrong but collectively right, And then to evaluate sentiment is not only looking at words, it's looking at many different elements. And so I think like we train a system to look at all sorts of things, and it learns and it gets better and it understands. And so if one person's sarcastic, typically that's just still one person. When you look at the whole thing together, it typically more like evens out a little bit. But what I would say to this is that some of the things that we're going to do is, it's one thing to be sarcastic in a post, or it doesn't pick it up properly, or whatever it is. It's another thing to kind of put your money where your mouth is. And so we're going to be doing a lot of things that really take sentiment to a new level for the crypto space that no one's ever done before. So we've got a lot of different things in the pipeline that are really like so exciting, that will actually, again, you put your money where your mouth is, and that is yet another factor towards understanding sentiment in the market, and how that individual is thinking. So very important, and more to come on that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, you guys have obviously recently had a good brand refresh. What's the reason for that? What was the reason for your change at that moment?
I can talk about
Yeah,
that.
loving the new design, by the way.
Yeah.
Joe and John, I'm like really digging the new design, the new colors. It's beautiful. Like I'm sitting here with the Klever charts. It's really something else. Yeah, please
Got
do.
the iPad going there, or you got an Android? What do you got there?
This is an iPad.
Okay.
My daughter loves to FaceTime with my parents, in Sweden. So she wants to be a monkey, she wants to be a mouse, she wants to. So it works well on an iPad.
Awesome. No, I think we were just QAing the iPad, and I was like, I don't think there's that many users. We might not need to do that much QA there, and now you're proving it wrong.
Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Looks sweet. I was thinking about that because I usually use it on either on the laptop or the phone, but actually looks really nice.
I don't want to be the guy that says wait till you see what's coming, but like what we've done at scale here is also evaluate how things are being used. And so we've got a whole bunch of different things. There's going to be a very optimized coin detail page, a very optimized personalized dashboard, new explore section. There's a lot that we're modifying based upon the behavior we've seen. So it's going to get a lot better. So I can't wait to launch these new things in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and I can talk about the brand a little bit with the rebrand. I mean, it's kind of like, when we had the idea and we were like, okay, we're going to integrate this token into what we're doing. It's kind of like when you start remodeling your house, if you have, and you're like, okay, we're just gonna do like the plumbing, and then you're like, well, if you do the plumbing, you're gonna have to, do this one bathroom, and like, oh, if we do the bathroom, let's just do the bedrooms too. Let's just knock the house down. And so I think it was a little bit like that, but we were a couple years into like our old brand, and the market had changed a lot, and we wanted to kind of put our best foot forward, with the new brand, and kind of refeel out what this world is. I mean, you have an idea that you go out to the world with, and you need to adapt that. And, I think, for us, you're probably going to see more frequency with the adjustment of the brand as we move forward and as products are launched. And, sometimes new products can't sit exactly under the same brand that you had launched, and you kind of have to have offshoots of that. So we wanted something that's a little bit more nimble, kind of towards that element, and, can lend itself to, other kind of operations as we spin those up and as we use those, because we're just kind of getting started. Like for us, it's like, hey, we bring this data in, we make, like sense of that. And then once you have the power of that data, and like you guys have been talking about with, bringing in sentiment data and, having first party data as well, there's a lot that we can do with that. And so we've got a lot of plans around different different products that we're going to be launching here over the next year, and continuing on our art on lunarcrush.com as well. So I didn't want to forget about like just your comment about alt rank and galaxy score, and that moment that Klever, you were like, oh, Klever was #1, during that downturn. So what you'd probably see there is like all the Galaxy scores were probably like net lower, right? So like Galaxy score, like usually if you get up into 90, like you are outperforming like what you have done historically for your token very well, right? And then,
84 is what I've seen for Clever. When
yeah,
we're often top 10 in the Galaxy
right.
score. Like
So
80 something has happened
yeah.
definitely.
So as that market went down, like all the Galaxy scores probably came down a little bit, right? But what was happening is you were probably outperforming Bitcoin at that moment, and you had some social volume that was happening. And so as the market was kind of moving down, like you guys were popping up in that #1 spot.
I
And
remember
so
the
it's like,
whole market was like down 15%. We were up like
yes.
20%.
So if you can go inverse the market at those moments, those are like the moments to grasp that #1 alt rank, I would say. But it's
Interesting.
you're probably still not going to outperform your previous, Galaxy scores. So that was all.
Challenge accepted.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're just getting started here, understanding your metrics then in order to be on top of both Galaxy and alt rank over the coming months. We
Yeah,
have so much planned and so much in the pipeline,
it's
and
great.
we're also doing so much together on the back foot and on the in the back channels. But we will be announcing that in due time. I do want to tap into guys, but first of all, if you do have any questions for John and Joe, post them in the comments. Our backstage team will get them. But I want to understand a little bit more on the vision and the long-term plan of your entire endeavor. So what is the vision and long-term plans for LunarCrush moving forward? And how do you guys see yourself as a kind of industry disruptor? And what is your role as we grow this crypto market?
I think maybe we could start with what's right in front of us. I mean, I love the quote of, if you can't see through the forest and you don't know where to go, you just take the next step, right? And so it's like this market is insane. If you were going to ask us, think about like even the beginning of 2020, like is DeFi, like DeFi wasn't, even for like, I guess the people at the core of the market, we knew DeFi was a thing. We even knew about NFTs back then, right? But that wasn't where the market was, right? And so like John's constantly talking about this where, with a roadmap, it's like you can't be like GE. Like I used this example the other day of like, hey, we're going to build a new like engine for an airplane, and that is going to be a 15-year like endeavor of having to do that. With crypto, you're pivoting in a quarter of the time or less than regular communities out there, and you have to be prepared for that. But I would say, for us, like, why did we get into this industry? Why did we join? Why did we quit jobs that were, extremely good and, go down this into this world? And it's because this is, the next phase of like, I'm so glad we've rebranded to Web3, and Web3 does not mean crypto, right? Like, I think a lot of people kind of like use those terms synonymously. They're like it's not the same thing. For us, it's always been about helping projects like yourself, every other project out there, find purview, bring the right builders and people to the forefront, reward the people that are doing the right thing and are trying to build this industry that we know can have such a paradigm shift of democratizing opportunity for people all around the world. For us, the mission's always been to create transparency for those people and to bring them to the forefront and to help be the cheerleaders and carry them forward. And, by rethinking the way that we do business and our operation, we think that we are positioning ourselves to be in the best place, for the future, to make that and continue to make that happen. And so that's a big vision, but it's the one step in front of your face that you need to take next in order to make that happen. I would say we've never at LunarCrush done anything. I mean, launching the token, sure, but it's always been one post after the other. It's like we were talking about yesterday as we were all chatting, kind of prepping for this meeting a little bit. Like I remember when we got our Twitter account, right, and we had 50 followers on it, right, and
Story.
yeah, and I think John's probably tested a million different variations of posts and what works, what doesn't work, and it's not what works to like grow and get something. It's like what resonates with people and what is the market interested in hearing about. And I think we've always been really good at staying true to what's going on. I mean, dude, like you guys see all those posts of like, which altcoins are you watching? Like John started that. Like literally like all those little posts, all those exchanges everyone does. Like if we post something, John posts something, you see all the other influencers and all the other people start posting those exact same posts because they're seeing they're going viral. It's like it's staying, but it's because we're listening. I mean, that is our job, is to listen to what the market is doing. And you know, we have our ear to the rail probably closer than anyone else in the space, period. And so it's to kind of help bolster that and push that out to the world. So long-winded answer, John. I don't know if you got anything else.
Let's get
One
yeah
thing
maybe.
before John, you go in, I just want to say something. When you talk about this, like ears being out, there's this amazing pharaoh of the 12th dynasty called Sesostris III, he was ruling for like 36 years, a fantastic reign, but he has this like huge ears, and all the Egyptologists, they're like, is he be listening to his advisors? Does he hear every whisper against him? And I always remind myself when about you guys have these huge ears, just listening to everything, little creep in the market, every whisper that's going on. You guys are there. I just wanted to add that, and I love this approach. It's really fantastic.
I mean, our one of our new brand taglines was like the truth from a million different opinions, right? And that goes back to what John is saying: is individually we're all wrong, but collectively we're right. And so if you can harness the power of that, you're going to be a step ahead. I like that example, though.
I feel like my ears are getting bigger just hearing this conversation. It's like I'm like checking on them. I want to give some specifics around like maybe where we're going, and at least with what we're willing to give out today. You know, I think when you look at where we are, you know, when we talk about like LunarCrush, the token, and how this all comes together, we've been in this like distribution phase. You know, it's about it. You know, it's sort of like the supply side coming out, and where we've been is, you know, we've been giving out 65,000 Lunar a day on the site, people, again, to millions of users, so it's a little bit per user that participate. Some are power users, some are not. Over time, that slows down. That slows down over time. There will also be things that we will be implementing, from a yield perspective, from a utility perspective, putting it to work, holding it, doing all sorts of things. And that's all coming in the coming weeks. We'll be launching more levels. To explain what levels are to those that are new to LunarCrush, we built, you could consider this like a video game or a play to earn, kind of a situation where users start out at level 1, they earn Lunar little bits over time, or buy it and connect their wallet to LunarCrush, and they up their level. As they up their level, they're earning more frequency of data, like more duration of data, more metrics, more features, more things, and a lot more is coming. And so those levels become richer and richer. And so right now we launched with level 1, 2, and 3. We'll be launching with level 4 within the next month, and that will come with even more features. And so if you kind of look at that, you know, it's kind of, that's one side. The other side of the token is, of course, off the site, and that is like with exchanges, centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, liquidity provision, all sorts of different things that are going on there. And so that's kind of where we started. And then to take it another thing is like, you know, how are users earning? Well, they're staying on the site for up to an hour a day, and they're answering opinions. That's just like 2 tasks of like 50 that are going to be on the site. We're just starting this out. But again, like all of that is around just distribution. And, you know, I could say that we're going to improve that experience. We're going to do a lot around first party content. We have some fantastic videos that you're going to start seeing on the site, different things. But, you know, all of that is sort of on the like supply side. There will be demand things that go on there, but the real demand is really from a B2B perspective. So when you look at where this is going, you know, we're not really agnostic to any one project. We are here for the crypto community, and we work with hundreds of different coins. We work with dozens of exchanges. There will be other asset types that you'll see us add to the site soon beyond just coins and exchanges. You could probably guess what some of those things are. other things that are popular in the crypto space right now, and those will be announced shortly. But when we talk about working with all of those, there are opportunities on the demand side, whether it be enterprise scale analytics, letting projects interact with their communities at scale and increasing their awareness across the crypto community. There are ways that the token will be integrated into that. And we have an API right now that we've got exchanges, we've got funds, we've got all sorts of different individuals, developers using our data. And so in various different ways. And so there are also ways around that where we want to bring Lunar into that experience, because we don't want to charge a subscription. We don't want to, we want to move like into our token being first and placed at the forefront of that. And so you're going to see a lot of different B2B applications. And I'd say just I'm going to be vague with this one, but long term, all of this goes into really what we're building around long term. And I would say a lot of that is around automation. And a lot of that is, I would say, our metrics, if used properly, absolutely destroy any market performance you've seen. So it's interesting when you look at using social data properly, and you look at like the fact of just trying to beat the market from a price perspective, there are many patterns that can be used. There will be many things we build around that longer term. But to do that, we really want to build, this goes back to the machine learning discussion and the data science discussion. We want to understand at a greater detail at this huge scale what we like, how confident we are in certain things before moving forward with really what the long-term plans are. So, but shorter term and medium term, man, so many more levels, more things to do, more ways to put Lunar to work, and like the different types of assets that we could track are going to be phenomenal. It's going to be something completely new. So pretty exciting.
That sounds fantastic. I'm excited with all those insights. With regards to all those insights that you're capturing at the moment for all the crypto users, how do you kind of handle taking your own insights for your own token? How does that kind of feed back to you, and what do you do with that? Because that could be either scary or interesting, or you obviously you improve on that or work with that. So how do you deal with that at the moment?
I mean, from just practically, I mean, like we don't want our LunarCrush social accounts to be all about us. And so we've created a delineation for the most part. We have a Lunar token Twitter and we have a LunarCrush Twitter. And we recognize that, it's sort of like we're not here to just constantly push our token. We're actually here to push the community and all of the projects out there. That's why we do LunarCrush Live. That's why we're posting about, I don't know, Polygon and waves and name it, like on and on and on. And so we believe that by bringing the whole community up, it benefits not just us, but everyone. And so like, I think that's kind of really where we look at our marketing on that side, because the token is a utility token. The token is designed to power the ecosystem to get those insights on the entire market, and not just, you need Lunar token to learn more about Lunar token. So we kind of look at it that way, I guess.
And that's what I love about the actual token itself. It's completely centered around utility, right? And empowering a localized ecosystem of yourselves. So it's not about decentralization, bringing this kind of global aspect of things. Instead, it's actually the localized ecosystem of LunarCrush powered by a utility token that clearly can reward participation, ownership, and joint cooperation. Guys, we're an hour in. That flew past so quickly. Before we go, I would love to ask you to, given everything that you guys are building, that we are building, that's happening in the entire space right now, what are you guys most excited about moving forward in 2022?
Ooh, most excited about? I think this year there's going to be a shift in like the understanding. I think we're finally going to be in the first year. Maybe it's a little bit last year, but most people are not entering the market buying a little bit of Bitcoin, right? That used to be the narrative. Like, hey, just buy a little Bitcoin, kind of like follow it, see what happens, like learn about the space. Like, we now have large scale brands that are interacting, in the market, whether it's through NFTs, or DAOs, right? And I think it's the year of, the narrative going away on crypto of this is bad. This is for criminals only, all that stuff. Like, I still hear that. Like, I still talk to financial advisors and people, but I feel like this is the year that goes away. And we have some sort of like universal acceptance where, there's going to be some sort of network effect of that changes everything. I don't know what it is yet, right? Like, it could be social finance. It could be, there's something coming, and it's going to be big. And it's because, like, right now we're in a little bit of we would call bear market, right? Like, these large corporations are not like suddenly like, oh, Bitcoin's down to
bear market yet, but personal opinion.
But these corporations and these large entities, it's kind of like when MicroStrategy starts to buy Bitcoin. They're not going like, oh, we're just going to buy it once and it falls down 25%, we're getting rid of it. These are like multi-year plans to integrate this as part of like the operational standpoint. And over the next 5 years, the millennials are going to get these executive positions at a lot of these companies, and guess how bullish they are, right? Guess what percentage of their portfolios? And like, as much as you hate to say it, incentives drive everything. And look at like the US government, for example. Like, you don't think that they're, they have to disclose what stocks they're purchasing and what's going on there. It's like, people this is what they believe in now, and they trust, like, Bitcoin is the ultimate truth machine, right? And you can't stop it. The train has left the station. And so I'm excited for this kind of like universal acceptance and usage layer, where it's not like, hey, I'm just going to like buy an NFT and hold it on Top Shots or something. Like, there's going to be a lot more usage that we see this year. And I think that, whoever like the AWS for crypto is going to be has a lot of work to do, and we need you to start building faster, because that is the missing piece right now in everything. And I'm excited to see it.
John?
I'm going to agree with everything Joe said, and I'm going to get specific about what I'm excited with LunarCrush. And the market is like, well, if we look at the number of social posts that we collect in a day, and I told you that, like, 2 to 3 years ago, we're talking, it was like a couple 100,000 posts a day, and on a good day we're collecting 2.5 to 3 million now, and on some days it's as high as like 4 to 5 even. And when we look at that, it's still small numbers. It's still small. If you look at this outward and go like, how many posts do you think we could actually start seeing a day? And I could see that it's still going higher. It's going higher and higher, and the number of people talking about crypto every day is going higher and higher. It tells me we're really early still. And so I think like that part, I'm really excited to see the community grow, because as the community grows, everything else has opportunity. Nothing grows without community. And so I'm really excited to see that as a trend. I know we're going to see a huge increase. We had about a 10x increase in the size of the crypto community last year. And it's going to go a lot higher. I wouldn't be surprised to see it 10x on top of that again as we move throughout the year. But I think from our side, what I'm most excited about is really more from a B2B perspective, us enabling coins, NFTs, exchanges, marketplaces, even stocks, any of these asset types that we could be working with. I'm excited to enable them with these insights that they've never had before. And so, and tools. And I think it's interesting because right now we look like a B2C consumer investor kind of a platform. I go here, I sign up, I get this stuff. That is, like, in my mind, like 20% of the story. That's again like a distribution model at scale that is not necessarily the utility and the ultimate value, because whereas investors come and go, these projects stay. And these projects, as they stay, we can help strengthen them. We can help them, give them better understanding of what's going on with their communities, with competitors, with the community around them, and it helps them operate more efficiently. And it brings, by doing that, we end up having projects that actually start to have some depth, better strategies, better understanding, better interaction engagement, better research, and that makes the community itself stronger. So we're kind of, I look at, there's this marketplace of information that we've got, and I am super excited about that B2B side. I mean, another example too, it's like if you look at developers, I think we have like less than 100 people using entities using our API today. We have a waiting list of thousands that want to use the API. And so we're like retooling before we do that. But I'm so excited to see what gets built out, and I'm so excited to support the actual community out there with a lot of the new tools we're going to build.
Fantastic. Well, John, Joe, thanks hugely for all the work that you're doing. Clearly, we share so many different values, philosophies, and our ethos are so much the same about cooperation and helping other companies, helping other projects grow through partnerships and joint work. So before we go, just want to say that your Lunar token now also has a prize fetch inside of Klever. So anyone holding Lunar can
just building on the live stream.
Yeah, that's how it goes in Klever. We never stop building. That's the beauty of it. And it was also fascinating for us to, I think, hear you guys, because you're always interviewing everyone else. And it's always great to tap into great minds and hear your vision and hear your strategies moving forward. So thank you so much for joining Klever Live and sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
Everyone out there, have a great day.
Brilliant.
Amazing. And thank you, Warren, of course, for co-hosting today. There will be many more, of course, moving forward. And thank you, everybody out there in the ether, whether you are in the east, west, north, or south. Make sure, until next time, stay hungry and be clever.
Love it.